So something I'm being asked quite often recently is, should I buy something now that the interest rates have gone up? And my answer to you is always going to be the same. You should go into home ownership when it is a good time for you and not worrying about what the national picture looks like. And I'm going to keep on reiterating that point because it's really about your future financial plans and how does home ownership fit into that. So let's talk about it a little bit. So first of all, the first thing to be aware of is the current 5 to 6% interest rate that we're seeing on home mortgages is actually a normal baseline. This is what it was before the pandemic. So the reason why the interest rates had dropped so low was actually to prevent home ownership, new homeowners, the rate of new home ownership from declining during the pandemic, because with people losing jobs or feeling like they were economically insecure, they were less likely to buy. So lowering the interest rate encourages some people who might not otherwise purchase. So it was a basically fake dip in the interest rate. It wasn't something that was a normal economic factor. It was very simply to prevent an economic issue, to sustain the level of home ownership. So the 5 to 6% interest rate is actually relatively normal compared to the trends since the early 1980s. In fact, the early 1980s interest rates were pretty insane and high. So as long as we're not up to those kind of rates, we're perfectly fine as far as interest rates. Now, another thing I want to tell you is a story that I told one of the people who asked me this question, is that when the interest rates dropped, there was such an increase in buyers that we saw property values going up above where they would have normally been. Like, property values tend to always go up, but of course during the pandemic, you had so many buyers coming in. It's a simple supply and demand thing in business, that if you have a less amount of product than you do of buyers, automatically the prices go up. And so we're seeing some stabilization in those prices now. And so a property, for example, that last year was set at $220 is being set at a lower price now. Not that it lost value, but that what we're seeing is it's balancing out. So if you had bought during that 3% interest rate window that was occurring for such a long period of time, your mortgage payment last year at 3% would have been the same as what the mortgage payment is now at that 5 to 6%, because there's a lower property value that you're paying. So keep these things in mind. The interest rate is not actually going to be harmful to you. And in fact, you can easily refinance and get a lower interest rate in the future if the rates ever drop below what you get them set in now. I do want to make sure that you guys have this information and that you really think about it in terms of what is best for you. When people say things like the home ownership or real estate market is rocky or shaky, it may not be in your market. So what market are you shopping in? What's happening there? And beyond that, always, one thing that anybody who actually is experienced in home ownership or investment does, they don't make these types of decisions because of what's going on nationally. They make these kind of decisions based on their own personal situation. So when you hit me up and we have a consultation, that's what I'm going to advise you on. I'm going to advise you on what is best for you. Are you in a position to purchase? Is it a good time for you? When would it be a good time for you? How does home ownership help you for your personal financial goals? That's the kind of conversations that we have. So I would say probably 20% of the people that I speak to, I end up advising them against buying right now and suggesting their plan to getting there. But about 80% of the people I talk to usually are ready. So let's talk about your situation, what your goals are, and how does home ownership either help or not necessarily hurt, because it doesn't really ever hurt, but is it going to prevent anything that's more important to you? So let's go over your numbers and let's talk about it. And we're also going to look at your market and what lending options are available to you to make sure that you get the best options. I want to encourage everybody out there. There are options right now for many people. Some people are in position to get a 0% down payment, no matter where they're buying, whether it's rural or whether it's in the middle of a city. Some people are going to get offers of like grant monies, $4,000, $5,000, $11,000, sometimes more than that, depending on where you are, what's available available to you, what you're trying to buy. This goes for whether it's residential or commercial. There's things available for every type of purchase. So wanted to offer that information to you guys. Be sure to hit me up so we can schedule that consultation.